Welcome to Talking Buffalo, featuring conversations with guests from around the world of sports, media, pop culture, and all things Buffalo. With your host, Patrick Moran.
All right, what is going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. I am your host, Glazing and Hayden, Patrick Moran. Big thank you to everyone out there, as always, for watching and for listening, for following and subscribing. I do appreciate y'all very, very much. If you happen to be up here live on a Sunday night, we are live here on the video side. And as usual, following Bills post games, I'm joined by Joe from Queens, a 31-10 Buffalo Bills resounding victory on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Doing okay, man. Just gotta have a victory, crack. I guess. You know, some people have Victory Monday shirts. I have a Victory beer, and that's it. So,
what kind of Victory beer you got going on there, man?
Oh, you would hate this. This is a Heady Topper from Alchemist, which is in Vermont. It's 8% alcohol, very hoppy. Ooh. You would despise it. It's definitely hoppy. So, yeah. Cheers to all the kids out there.
If you happen to be watching this on the video side, and if you're watching this on Twitter, if you want to be part of the conversation and leave a comment, you'll have to go to the Talking Buffalo YouTube channel, find this live. For whatever reason, you can't comment when you watch this on Twitter. You'd have to go to YouTube for that. I'll put up a couple comments throughout the show. We'll get to some more as we get to the end. Let me start by saying this. So I went to bed on Saturday night. Went to bed feeling a little buzzed up. I'm not gonna lie, man. Went to a Halloween party. What are you looking at?
What else is new?
You're always drunk. I'm a one day wonder, man. It's my one day a week. But anyway, went to a Halloween party, had a really good time, came home. I went to bed, and I'm thinking to myself, looking at the schedule for how it was set up for Sunday. I'm like, if the Bills could hold serve in the AFC East this week, realistically, I think that was the best that you could possibly hope for, because you had the Miami Dolphins with Tua returning, or they're at home and they're playing Arizona. You had the Jets, which felt like their season quite literally was on the line against a one-win New England team with a rookie quarterback. And then from Buffalo's standpoint, you're going on the road to a tough place to play against not a great, but a pretty solid Seattle Seahawks team. So you expect the Jets to win. You expect Miami to win. You hope that you win so that you could keep serve. That's what my expectation was when I went to bed on Saturday night and when I woke up on Sunday morning. I did not expect the Buffalo Bills to not only beat Seattle. I mean, I kind of expected that. That's not that big of a surprise to me. I picked the Bills to win by 6. But I didn't expect the Bills to essentially win the AFC East in week 8. And dude, the Bills win, the Jets lose at New England, Miami loses at home to Arizona. Like, that's just stunning to me. The Bills have a 4-game lead in what was going to be a vaunted AFC East, and it's not even Halloween yet, dude. This race in the AFC East is almost over already. It's crazy to me, ain't it?
Yeah, it's and you know, I had a little egg on my face. I picked the Bills to lose today in my thread of doom.
I think you liked it, dude. I believe in your heart of hearts that you are objective each game. Yeah, I don't think you're doing it for effect. I think you just think the Bills are going to lose, but you've done this 4 times, I think, this year already, maybe even 5.
Did I pick them
the Bills to lose?
Yeah, but 2 of them I got right. I picked them to lose. The 2 games that they lost, I got them right. So the games I got wrong were the Miami game and the Jets game. And today. So whatever. If you do pick them, what the fuck am I? 5-3 or whatever. Like, if we're just doing pick them. So, but
it wasn't wild for you to pick against the Bills.
Yeah, some of it was a little stubborn because I had remember before the season I was looking at it, I'm like, man, this is going to be the shocking game that no one would think that they would lose to, because it's Seattle, like Geno Smith. You know, maybe people will think it's it's Geno Smith, Jets Geno Smith, which he's not. He's supposed to be better, even though he wasn't really good today, obviously. But yeah, I did not expect it to be as big of a blowout as it was. And it was crazy because it happened fast. I mean, it was what, 7-3 with like a minute left in the first half. And then all of a sudden, like it just the barn doors got blown
Double
open. The double dip. Like you love the double dip wings and you love the double dip football now.
Yeah.
They blew it open in the third quarter and it was over. But yeah, the AFC is East. It's done. I mean, forget just this year. I mean, I don't want to be too over the top here with that division because it's just like that division, like those three teams, New England, Miami, and the Jets, they have issues. Like the Jets don't have a quarterback after Aaron Rodgers goes off into his fucking dark retreat after this season.
He's in the darkness again. I think he's talking about that stupid shit after the game.
And I've already sworn twice, so that's your fault because you didn't warn me beforehand. But I'm catching myself. The Jets, the Patriots are, they're we don't know anything about them. They're just rebuilding now. Miami, Tua, they could clinch the division next year too. Right now because it looks terrible for those three other teams. But yeah, I didn't expect them to run away with the division like this. I didn't even expect them to win the division. I was kind of 50-50. Like, I think I don't even know who I had. I thought it was going to be a meddlesome division where everyone was going to be like 10-7 and it was just going to be ugly and kind of nasty. And, I said last week, I know you don't remember because you do 75 podcasts and you tune me out 70% of the time, but I had told you that I did not want to put the Bills in that top three of the AFC with the Texans, the Ravens, and the Chiefs. I was like, no, I'm not putting them in there. But I said if they beat the Seahawks, I'll put them in there. And I have to put them in there because they beat the Seahawks. I kicked their asses, and they're right there. I don't like them against Baltimore. That's the only team I fear right now, I would say. But everyone, they could beat the Chiefs, they could beat the Texans. Obviously, it depends what happens, and we still have another swear word. We still got 10 weeks left, etc. So, they're in that conversation. I am putting them in. I know everyone else probably had them in after week 2 or the preseason, but I'm stubborn and I'm very skeptical. But yeah, they're in that conversation.
In terms of Baltimore, look, they look like an unbeatable juggernaut at times. They're also a team that now this season has lost to Vegas and then they lost to Cleveland. So they're not in any way unbeatable. We'll got to get to that a little bit later on. Rico Garland says, so proud to be a Bills fan. Look, there's a lot of Bills fans, right? Bills fans, rightfully so, are kind of sticking their chest out here on a Sunday night. That stadium was rocking. And you saw a lot. I don't know if you saw. I saw a hell of a lot of clips from the team, from a couple of media people, a lot of fans who were at the game. That like quote unquote, they always say, the takeover, whatever city, that was kind of legit on this game. I know a lot of Bills fans. I mean, you heard like when Cooper he had one catch for the game, so it was the only time you heard it. But he caught a pass, and this was early in the game, the first quarter. You heard a lot of people go Coop. From the first quarter and especially at the end of the game, a couple thousand fans there sticking around. It was really, really awesome to see. And one person here, I got to find this up in the comments, says Seattle was awful today, right? They kind of were too. So that was the Bills played really good. Seattle didn't help themselves at all. But anyway, so the Bills win the toss, they deferred, which there was 100% chance that was going to happen, especially after last week. They were not going to take the kick again. So they defer a 3-and-out. They get the ball to go 85 or 90 yards or something like that. Score on their first drive. They end up 14-3 at the half. They took the second half kick, took half the third quarter away, and they kicked a field goal. It's 17-3. And at that point, it kind of felt like the game was essentially over. I mean, they came out and they dominated 145 yards in the first quarter to 12, 9 first downs in the first quarter. Seattle didn't have any. Again, 2 90-yard touchdown drives just in the first half. So the Bills dominated, but before we kind of get into what they did good, which was a lot, Seattle, to the commenter's point, man, they had a lot of miscues. Let's just say that, all right? 2 times They get the ball inside the 3-yard line, and they came away with 3 points combined. Yeah, that one snap, Connor Williams, who might have been the Bills' MVP besides Josh in the first half, sails the ball 10 yards over Geno Smith's head. They settle for a field goal. They go for it on 4th and goal from like inside the 1, and Geno Smith trips over the center, and they come away with nothing. A little bit of luck. Like Josh Allen did fumble on that touchdown drive before they had to go up 14-3. It was a 3rd down. Josh Allen was running. The ball was wet, came loose, and he kicked it, and it goes right to Ty Johnson, who recovers it for, a 1st down. But so Seattle kind of, we're going to give the Bills a shitload of credit throughout this episode, but let's kind of start there. Seattle kind of sucked. Geno Smith was unhinged multiple times this game. Players are getting each other's faces. It was just wild for Seattle.
A guy like Geno Smith needs a number 1 wide receiver. And without DK Metcalf, the offense looked kind of lost, and without him, and you look, if he played, they're probably still winning, obviously. But
Sure.
I think that's what the offense looked like. And the funny thing was, as I said to the open, it was 7-3 with Seattle had the ball, like a couple minutes left in the first half. And then they just kind of, after that, the tripping, like when Geno tripped, I felt like the air just completely went out of that team, and they're getting personal foul penalties, and they're starting. The one guy got the personal foul on Josh Allen because Josh did his dive. Like Josh is the best.
He got
actor.
hit in the head though. It was Derek Hall. Dude, he hit him in the head though. I mean,
yeah, but Josh did. Well, Josh did embellish it a little bit. Like he did dive. Okay, he acted like it's fine. Like I'm just saying, he's a great actor. Don't take away my heat. He's a great actor. One of the best, like right now in the league, right now when he gets hit. But you could, but after that play, like the 2 defensive linemen start getting into a fight on the sidelines, and they had to get separated. And Leslie Frazier was in the middle of that, and they lost a lot of their.
They
really lost a lot of their composure in that game. But it's the Bills. There are not too many notes about this, this game. But I felt, if you're a passing guy, you love this game. And I'm a passing guy. I like this game. Like Josh Allen was dialed in. If you like the Bills to run the football, hey, they did that. If you like complimentary football, like what Sean McDermott loves, then everyone's thrilled with it. And if you want aggressiveness, I mean, they freaking went for it on 4th down in their own 35-yard line with 8 minutes left in the game, or 10, or I forgot what it was in the game, but they went for it, and then they did a sneak, and they went for it, and you're like, great, be aggressive. So they did everything for everyone today. Everyone ate. Everyone who ate, in terms of, I'm not talking the offense, I'm talking about what you look for as a fan or as a pundit or whatever the fuck. That's what they looked for. They were very excited about
this was the biggest difference in this game, well, at least when it mattered. By the end, I think the Bills were the better team. The Bills were going to win regardless. But the big difference, again, Seattle gets inside the 3-yard line or closer twice, and they combine for 3 points on that. That's kind of the ball game there for them. And for the Bills, they were 4 of 6 in the red zone. In reality, they were 4 for 5 in the red zone because they took 3 kneel downs at the end of the game instead of trying to score. They got in the red zone 5 times and scored 4 touchdowns. I mean, that's how you win football games right there. Just a great all-around effort. Both sides of the football. Offensively, this was the first time they had a 100-yard rusher and a 100-yard receiver in the same game. You have to go all the way back to 2018 for the last time that happened.
Jesus.
I was against the Jets.
McCoy, I'm going to guess. Don't tell me because I don't know. It was McCoy, and I'm going to guess the receiver must have been Robert Foster. Who the heck was there at that time?
Right. You're half right. The receiver was Robert Foster. He had
Zay Jones. Had to be Zay.
No, it was Robert Foster. He did.
I was right. Okay.
You were half right. You were wrong about McCoy, though. It wasn't McCoy. It was Josh Allen. Josh Allen ran for 101 yards that game.
Wow. Oh, my God.
Yeah. Shit. So you're going back 6 yards. So almost 6 years. So it's been almost 6 years.
That's a long time.
Since the Bills have had a game where a receiver and a running back both went over 100 yards. So just, again, an all-around really good performance. The defense played good. I want to start, again, we just spent a little bit of time. Seattle didn't do themselves any favors. The miscues were ridiculous. Geno Smith played well, but then he did some really dumb things as well. It just completed the whole team just imploded. Let's just leave it at that. I don't want to take away from the Bills because it's never easy to go on the road, especially go out to the West Coast and win a football game. And that's what the Bills did. You know what I want to start with today, actually? Kind of got some notes here. We'll go through them. I want to start with Joe Brady. I thought starting last week when Amari Cooper caught that slant pass, I said from there, I don't know, you say you never pay or I never pay attention to you on the show. Well, I don't know if you were paying attention, but last week I said on our show, I wonder if that's going to change the way the Bills offense operates for the rest of the year. After that touchdown to Cooper, it just seemed like the offense opened up more starting in the second half of the Tennessee game. Well, for the first time probably this season, the Bills offense opened up from the first drive as opposed to the third quarter because this team has been sleepwalking on both sides of the ball, but especially offense in the first half this year. That was not the case today. Joe Brady, lots of first down passing. I went and I looked it up. I'm not going to count the last 3 drives because they were just 2 3-and-out punts. And then, like I said, a kneel down to end the game. They were protecting a 3-score lead at the end. They weren't throwing the ball.
Sure.
Up to that point, though, the Bills passed on first down 17 times on this game, and they ran the ball on first down 11 times. So they threw the ball more than they ran it on first down. Unpredictable, imaginative, creative. You said it. Everyone eats, and, we joke about that moniker, but everyone was eating on this day. And except for Amari Cooper, 1 catch, 3 yards. Who gives a shit? It didn't even matter. But don't you think Joe Brady deserves a lot of credit? Did you not see an offense that looked a little more unpredictable, looked a little more, I would say aggressive, because he chucked the ball down the field some too. They mixed it up really well. The screens, the intermediate passes, a couple downfield throws. They ran the ball real effectively. I think Joe Brady had Seattle's defense, Leslie Frazier's defense, a little bit in a blender. Like, they didn't know what they were doing. Seattle didn't know what Buffalo was doing. I thought it was an excellent game for Joe Brady mixing it up. What did you think?
Yeah, he definitely did. I mean, it was a lot of good balance, and he kept them off, and that's a great number that you pulled with them passing on first down, because that was a big issue, I think, coming into this game.
Sure.
They've been kind of predictable, but they threw the ball a lot, and look, they were aggressive, and they've been aggressive since, I know it's only been 6 quarters, but they've been aggressive since the second half of the Tennessee game, where they're just like, look, it took a little while, for them to get their offense in gear in terms of, their wide receivers and who is the pecking order. And I think we know what that is. And, today it was the main guys that we talked about last week that needed to eat. I got to get this each stuff out of my lexicon, but the guys that we wanted on the field for the most part were on the field. I don't
think Mac Hollins got a target. I'd have to look it up. If he did, he might have got it one. He didn't even get a target. Obviously, Sam didn't play. Virgil came up with the practice squad. He didn't get a target either.
Yeah, he did not. Yeah. He didn't get a target. Yeah, it was.
He didn't eat.
He didn't eat. Yeah.
He ate. He got a fumble.
He got a fumble recovery.
And he ate. He had a special teams meal.
I'm sure he'll go viral for feet at some point. But yes, he did. They got their other playmakers involved. I also would like to say, I was impressed with, Coleman, Shakir, Dawson Knox all had catches of 25 yards or more. And that's the thing, they haven't, they did that a lot last week with, they were getting chunk plays from their wide receivers and their tight ends. And that's something that they have to do more of. But
do you think, even though he only had 1 catch for 3 yards today, he was not a factor statistically in this game, but, we talked about it a little bit last week and then rolling into this week. Do you think just his arrival here and kind of having for the first time all season, a much more clear definition of what your role is? Like, everybody's role went down like one spot on the ladder when Amari got here. Doesn't mean you're not going to get used as much. It just means you have a different role. Do you think Amari Cooper just being on this team now and being out there on the field, whether it's defenses having to account for him or just Coleman maybe being a little more looser because maybe these guys don't feel like they got to do quite as much, do you think that's helping him? So a day where Cooper has 1 catch for 3 yards, in a way, he still kind of helps the offense. Do you agree with that?
I would say yes, but it is a cliche. I mean, it's an easy thing to say. Like, oh yeah, the number one guy doesn't get his catches, but everyone else gets his catches. So obviously it's like the defense is concentrating on him. It's very cliche to say that. It's probably the case, but I'm not going to go look at the film. I'm sure you will. If he's getting doubled out there or he's got like getting blanketed and you could tell they're chasing after him, then you can say, oh, yeah, there's some more evidence to that. But yeah, I'm sure it does help. And I'm sure since we talked about before he got here, like to me, the passing game was not that great. Like there wasn't any down the field passing at all.
Maybe Brady's got more confidence now to dial up more passing plays because he's got another weapon out there, whether the ball ends up in his hands or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's that, but I also think it's the younger guys like Keon Coleman. He looked good again, and I think that's something that they've kind of, they've slow played him a little bit, in terms of doing that, and they've got him into the game, and now he's like we started a month ago. If you would have told me, oh yeah, he's going to get like almost 200 yards in 2 weeks, I would have been like, yeah, right, that's not going to happen because he wasn't playing that much. But then they slow played it. And now he's being effective, and now they're going to dial up more throws because of that.
Sure. Tommy wants to know: are the Bills the second best team in the AFC? Chiefs are not better. Are the Ravens? We'll get to that a little bit later on. I kind of want to talk about this game some more first. Josh Allen, look, I was so impressed with him again today. Statistically, a really good game. 24-34, 283 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Over 300 yards last week, near 300 yards this week. Did throw his first interception of the season, and it was a bad one, too. Sooner or later, we knew it was coming. And I was wondering, well, what type of interception is Josh going to throw? Is it going to be a good throw that's just, a bad break, like it bounces off a guy or, it's tipped at the line? No, this was a bad interception from Josh. A bad decision, a bad throw. But who cares? It's going to happen. What I was impressed with most was how much poise, how little it bothered him because they got the ball back and they scored. They went on like a 12-play, like 85-yard drive. If you had penalties, it was even more than that. It took like almost 4.5 minutes off the clock. And then they scored a touchdown with just like, 18 seconds left before the half. So he makes a mistake. And I'm like, all right, you're in Seattle. It's going to be loud. They're going to get back in the game. Wasn't the case, man. He just settled right back down. And again, he did get lucky, though, early in that drive. That was the play where he took off and the ball slipped out and he fumbled it. But right to Ty Johnson passed the first down marker. But from there on, it was just complete calm from him, just making the right decisions, the right reads, made some beautiful throws, too. This was another really, really good, dare I say, MVP caliber performance from Josh Allen. I don't know, man. We're almost halfway through the season now, and the yards aren't there and the touchdown passes aren't there, but everything else is there. And all the metrics are there, not turning the ball over, being smart, being effective, and putting points up on the board. Another really, really strong game from Josh Allen.
Yeah, the interception things, I'll be frank, it doesn't really bother me. I wasn't that moved about him not throwing picks. I think it's part of his game is to be aggressive. When I saw that Alex Smith was the one guy that had, they had the stat like 14 touchdowns or more after the first 7 games and no interceptions. And Alex Smith was the only guy to have that. And I was like, Alex Smith is not like the guy, like he's an okay quarterback. He's solid. And I'm like, I'd rather you be throwing 300 yards and like, get 3 touchdowns and a pick every week. Like, I don't care. But
right.
I just don't care. It doesn't move the needle for me. I know it does for other people with him not turning the ball over, but whatever. He was great today. And again, he got the ball into his playmakers' hands. Really a death by paper cuts type of game for him. Like he didn't have like a giant 60-yard bomb or anything like that. Or, I think his longest play was like, 35 or something.
He had a 30-yard pass to Coleman on the run.
It was 30. Yeah. And Shakir had one. Shakir had the longest, like it was a 35-yard play by him. But for the most part, it was a death by paper cuts, and that's good. Like, hey, I'm fine with Allen either doing it, 10, 12 yards, or he wants to do a 30, 40 yard, whatever. But yeah, he was great today. And, as long as he's playing well, the Bills can win. The Bills can beat anyone. And that's that's the bottom line.
I'm like you. I care. We all care. You don't want to see Josh throw an interception. Nobody wants to see that. But in a way, I was anticipating it because I wanted to see what the bounce back was going to be. Was he going to just bounce back or was he going to unravel? If you remember last year in that Jets opener, that still sticks in my mind a little bit. just he threw a really bad interception, and it kind of stuck with him the whole game, and he really unraveled on the road. Certainly wasn't the case in this game. And before we get to the receivers, I actually want to talk about James Cook, which, by the way, Joe, laugh and bust my balls all you want. I am on fire with my preview episodes on Fridays and my 3 bowl predictions. This week's bowl prediction, I was just too lazy to go get the clip. I'll rub it in later this week. I called it. I said James Cook is going to have 100 yards rushing and a touchdown. He actually had 2 touchdowns in this game. 17 carries for $111, 2 scores. He also had 3 catches for 22 yards. That's impressive in itself. But what I'm starting to see from James Cook now that I have not seen prior to this point is a lot more physicality in his game. He's running with those pads, man. He's hitting you with those pads. That second touchdown he scored was that was like an animalistic run. I mean, he literally knocked the helmet off some dude going into the end zone.
I think it was the new linebacker. He knocked his helmet off. Whoever Seattle traded for. Yeah.
Look, I like Ray Davis, and he's going to roll on this team, and he'll have his moments. He'll have some weeks for sure. But James Cook's still the best running back on this team. You saw why today, and it just seems like he's got more juice right now. And like I said, it's not even just the patience and the vision that we've seen. Now he's starting to run a lot more physical. Like I said earlier this year, now it's even coming together more. Le'Veon Bell kind of shit, man. He's looking like Pittsburgh Steelers years, Le'Veon Bell. Vision, power running, wiggle room, things like that, catching the ball to the backfield. What a weapon he's becoming now.
No, he is. And, I've sat here and tried to contemplate, like, how good is this offense in comparison to years past with this Bills offense? I have high expectations for the Bills offense because I think about the 2020 Bills offense, the 2021, where, like, Allen had 39 touchdowns and, like 300 yards every other week and all that sort of stuff. Like,
right,
where is this team better at than those teams? And to me, it's simple. It's running back. Like, if you want to get in, it's Cook. Cook is much. Yeah. They rely on him way more. I think he's better than Devin Singletary was. I think he's better than what Zach Moss was. And, they have a little bit more of that balanced attack, but Cook is a gamer. And he's been really good for them this year. And he's an all-purpose back for them. He hasn't had too many. I mean, he had 1 drop, like a month ago or something like that. I think he's curtailed that a little bit. But, yeah, he runs really hard. I mean, you said Le'Veon Bell. I think of Chris Johnson a little bit, the Titans' old running back.
Sure.
And he looks good. And, look, if not the talent on the outside, it's getting there. But, like, if Allen has an off day, at least you got Cook there who –
sure.
He's going to be like in the top 5 rushing probably this season for all running backs or something like that. Like easily,
sure.
He's doing his thing. But he had a great game. Your boy, you put him on the Wall of Fame in July, and I'll bring him up, and even though it's probably out of sequence of what you want to bring up, but Shakir, like, looked great today, caught everything. I think Fitzpatrick actually tweeted this out. Like, since last year, he's got like 75 receptions or something, 3 targets or something insane. But like Shakir, I think, has been great, and you called it, so congratulations. The broken clock is right twice a day with you over here. But he was phenomenal today too, Shakir. Like, he's gutsy, dirty, like I don't know what you want to call him. Like, what's this comparison to? Like, Tom Brady.
I've said he's Cole Beasley with more juice. To me, that's what he is, because he catches everything. Yeah. He's a good route runner. He's shifty. But the difference between him and Cole Beasley is Khalil Shakir has gears and the ability to make you miss that.
And he doesn't have a terrible Twitter like Cole Beasley did. But yes, he's great. He's been. Yeah. I mean, today he was there. He was. I don't want to say his best, maybe the best pass catcher, but they had Coleman helped out, Kincaid helped out, but like, Shakir was great today. Like, this was a good game for him.
He was. Let's. I need to take on the video side, like, quite literally a 3-second break. We're going to be back in 3 seconds. I want to get into some of these receivers specifically. Then I want to get into the defense too, because I thought the defense did a really sound job. All right, I am back here. We are doing an instant reaction show. Joe from Queens is joining me. The Buffalo Bills just put one on Seattle, 31-10. They are 6-2. They have a 4-game lead in the AFC East. for all intents and purposes, this divisional race is, I don't want to say it's quite over. I will say that at 4:05 or 4:30 p.m. next Sunday, because if the Bills beat Miami in Orchard Park, the AFC is like quite literally
It's done.
a
Just
wrap at that point.
print the
It's over.
t-shirts, drive for 5 or whatever you want to call it.
You can
Like,
print the
print 'em.
t-shirts next Sunday, drive for
Yeah.
5.
Yeah.
Like I said, I kind of go back to the beginning of the season, and the Bills were not even like the betting favorite to win the division. It was the Bills, the Jets, the Dolphins were all pretty much clumped in. Well, maybe we'll talk about that a little more at the end. I want to get back into this game. You brought it up before the break too. Khalil Shakir, 9 catches for a $107. He's got 36 catches on 38 targets this year. When Josh Allen throws him the football, it's going to be a completion. He was great. Second, I think this was the second most receiving yards he had in a game. This 9 catches was his career high. Dalton Kincaid, 4 catches for 31 yards. He had a touchdown too, I believe. He did. Dawson Knox had 2 catches for 50 yards. And Keon Coleman, 5 catches, 70 yards. And 2 of those catches were great catches. That first touchdown, that, by the way, Woodard is a great corner. He just took it for him. That was a great play. He also had a really nice catch where he went up in the air to get the ball and he got his legs chopped on in the second half. It was like a 29-yard completion there. He caught it while getting hit. Tom Brady, who I thought did a decent job calling the game. Not the greatest, but I thought he was decent. But anyway, he talked, and look, if nothing else, he knows quarterbacking. And he was talking about he could sense and he could see how Josh Allen is really developing a lot more trust in Keon Coleman as this season is going on. So you have Amari Cooper, who you know what he can do. Khalil Shakir goes out. He has a big game. Dalton Kincaid is getting meaningful catches. I really don't care how many catches he has. I care that they count and they mean something when he does. And Keon Coleman's kind of becoming this beast. This offense, and then we talked about James Cook. And Ray Davis is a good running back. It's Ty Johnson that gets the ball to the backfield. And you got an MVP caliber quarterback. I guess what I'm saying is, at least lately, and I know it doesn't look that way all season long, but lately, weapons is not an issue for the Buffalo Bills anymore. It felt like that early in the year. It's like they're going to have these knockdown, drag-out games with Matt Collins and Samuel, MVS. Those days feel like a distant memory right now, because these last 2 weeks, or at least even these last 6 quarters, the guys who were supposed to be weapons on the Bills are starting to play like weapons. And Joe Brady, over the last 6 quarters, has kind of put them in position to succeed. You can maybe you won't make this argument. I guess maybe I am. I think this team offensively looks better than they did last year. You agree? I mean, you lose Jason Davis.
It's too early for me to assess. I mean, look, they played really well today, and they played well last week, or at least the second half last week. It's still, they look good so far. Like, Cooper being there has really changed it for me. I don't know if I would go like that far in terms of, I mean, last year, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It was interesting last year.
It feels
they have more of a balance.
Maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid a little too early, but this offense suddenly feels a lot different to me without Matt Collins and MVS and Curtis Samuel, who's hurt, in fairness to him. But
sure,
those guys, I don't need them. They're the 5th, 6th, 7th guys. Hell, fucking MVS is not even on this team right now. You know what I mean? At this point, it just feels different. It feels like a much more dangerous Buffalo Bills offense that finally looks like they're starting to get dialed in. Like, Joe trusts Josh and Josh trusts his receivers now, where I don't think that was there earlier this season.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely gotten better as the season has gone on. Like, look, those 2 games against the Texans and Baltimore, the offense looked like crap. It was not good at all. And, like, you know, part of the Jets game I wasn't really thrown away. But, like, since Cooper's got here, it's looked better. I don't know if I would say it's better, because, like, you know, last week I wasn't really thrilled with the offense all that much, to be honest with you. I felt like they didn't have enough depth at wide receiver. And, you know, I don't know if it's the same now. I mean, it's, you know, you have 3 good wide receivers. You have 3, like, I'm happy with the 3 wide receivers they have.
You got Hollins and Samuel as your 4 and 5 now. It feels like that's the way it was supposed to be. Earlier in the season, it felt like they needed to be the 2-3. It was like Shakir, because you couldn't count on Coleman. He's a rookie coming along real slowly. You know, expect him to play like a rookie. And it was like, all right, well, you need Samuel, Shakir, and Matt Collins to really be good. 2 of those 3, I don't need really much from them at all. In fact, I don't really need anything from them at all.
It's
one
like I
last
said,
one.
yeah. It's like I said, it's a little bit too early for me to say like what like they're doing their thing. I want to see they look at I want to see what they do against the Chiefs and like in a couple weeks when they go against them. That's going to be the big test because
Sure.
now you know
It's always the
see,
big test.
it's
Every year.
always the big test, and that's when you really see where you are as a championship caliber football team. Like
Well, I
how do you
like them
do
a
against-
lot more now than I did at the end of the at the Houston
Sure,
Texans game. Let's just put it that
absolutely,
way.
absolutely.
One last thing about the offense, and I don't blame us because it's just not the sexy thing to talk about. I'm sure most podcasts and articles are, the same way. You talk about the sexy quarterback and the running game and the receivers eating. Guess what? This Bills offensive line, minus the penalties, which, God, we'll talk about that in a few, minus the penalties, this offensive line was spectacular in Seattle, dude. Josh got sacked, like, I think maybe on the first drive of the game. That was it. In fact, he was rarely pressured. He had all day to throw the ball, a lot of time to throw the football. The Bills ran for 167 yards before the last 3 kneel downs of the game, 5.4 yards per carry. This offensive line was stellar. And I don't care who your weapons are or how good your quarterback is. If your offensive line is a disaster, or even if they're just, mediocre, your offense is not going to consistently be good. This offensive line against, 2 Seattle pass rushers, man. Derek Hall and Boye Mafe, I think he actually did get the sack in the first series of the game. But aside from that one play, they were invisible. These were 2 like game-wrecking, really good athlete type of edge rushers that Seattle had, and they were completely absent for like 59 minutes of this football game. Anyway, my point, the Bills' offensive line is just a stellar performance by all 5 of them.
Yeah, give him credit. Give Aaron Cromer credit for how he's coached them up, and it's still the same nucleus as it was last year, outside of obviously Mitch Morris being gone. But yeah, they've been aside from maybe like one game this year. I think it was the Baltimore game or the Texans game where they got kind of they got
Sure.
crapped on. They've been great all year, but yeah, you read their stats like today. Over 5 yards a carry. Josh had a lot of time today to throw the ball, and you have Josh that he can roll out and and save them a couple seconds or two. Yeah, it was great. I got nothing else to say about the line, but the line really helped out.
Ralph Wilson Sr. commented, thought Brady did an excellent job for a guy I hate. Well, I'll tell you what, good for you to be able to
thanks, Ralph,
give someone
from heaven or whatever you're at.
It's good. Good on you to give somebody credit for a guy that you hate. I say that laughingly, but no, seriously, there's some people who will have hatred for a player or a coach, and no matter what, they just will not give that person any credit whatsoever. If you're criticizing Joe Brady after this game, I don't know what more he can do to make you not criticize him. Anyway, so that's the offensive side of the ball. The defense was up to task as well without Terrell Bernard, by the way, their quarterback of their defense, arguably their best defensive player, especially stopping the rush. Holy shit, dude. 17 carries, 32 yards they allowed rushing, 1.9 average. Kenneth Walker, the third, well, I was really concerned about coming into this game. He had 9 carries for 12 yards. This was the least amount of rushing yards the Bills gave up in a game in almost 5 years.
Wow.
They go all the way back to 2019. I think it was Miami. They gave up 23 yards that game.
Look at you with the stats. You've been stealing them from someone on Twitter. I know you
Just
were.
do my homework. That's why that's kind of why I like not going
like
live immediately after the game. You can put
I had to change diapers today after watching. I had to watch the game again afterwards because I had kid duty. But yeah, the defense was great. They stopped. Greg Rousseau was awesome today again.
Sure.
Like he's been just lights out, and he's just getting in the quarterback's face.
Yeah,
like first play of the game.
And the third play of the game. He knocked down 2 passes in the first series and led to a Seattle punt, which, by the way, the Bills took, that first possession and they went down and scored a touchdown. So Greg Rousseau had a big impact very early in this game as well. Austin Johnson gets, again, more Seattle miscues, although this was a tip ball. But so the Bills are up 17-3. And Seattle's down 2 touchdowns. You're like, well, if Seattle's going to make a comeback, it's going to have to be now. Sure enough, not long after that, Geno Smith throws the ball. Casey Toohill, of all people, tips the ball. and Austin Johnson gets the interception. The defensive line of rotation of doom strikes for the Buffalo Bills. They
Yeah.
go up 24-3, and that's a wrap. Yeah, the defensive line today, especially stopping the run, that interior, Ed Oliver, Austin Johnson, DeQuan Jones, they were eating Seattle blockers up.
Yeah.
There was nowhere to go in the running game.
It
Those
was
guys
interesting.
were really good.
It was interesting because Seattle was running a lot of no huddle in the first half, and I was like,
Sure.
oh, and I was like, this is good. This is good for them to do because the defensive line rotation takes guys in and out. So if you're hurrying up, you can't take guys in and out as much as they could. And I think, look, the momentum for this game to me swung because Seattle couldn't score those 2 touchdowns, and they're inside the 5. Like, I kid you not. Like, so my wife's in the other room watching the baby because we don't do TV screens or any of that nonsense. Unfortunately, I wish we could. So I'm telling her what's happening, and I'm like, they're about to score because like it's 1st and goal at the 5. They're about to score. What happens? They don't score. They get a field goal. Okay, Josh throws the pick or whatever. I'm like, oh crap! I'm yelling at her in the other room. They're about to score, and I'm like, oh, they don't because the guy fell and it's over and we're fine. But really, like
I couldn't believe that.
At that instance, because look, I thought Seattle was going to score, and right then and then they scored those 2 touchdowns. It's 14-7. They got the lead. You got the crowd in their favor, all that stuff, and it's going to be like, oh, here we go. But right once they couldn't get in, that's on the defense. The defense stopped them, and Geno Smith falling helped too. But give them credit because I think.
But that second drive, it was like a 10-yard drive or so because Josh threw that pick.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, and that's when I thought they were going to score on that, and they stopped them, and they stopped them on 4th down, and like I said, like that to me, that sequence of those 2 drives, I think changed the whole game because they could have gone up, they could have been up 14-7, and instead, I think it took the air right out of Seattle's sails and all that shit, and they were done, and that's you got to give credit to the defense. Like, look, there are moments that the defense does give up yardage. Like Seattle did have, I thought Seattle kind of had their way a little bit in the first half with moving the ball a little bit down the field. Like they get the 1 field goal. They kind of were moving a little bit. It was an interesting game.
And the drive.
Half. Yeah, because you know what it was to me, Pat? It was Buffalo had the ball for so much in the first half that when Seattle got the ball, they had the one drive, they went down the field, they got a field goal, and maybe I'm overstating it with them moving the ball, but I just thought there were moments like, oh, that they look like they have momentum and they're beating Buffalo on misdirection and like play action, and then it was
They
done.
had a nice 13 play. They had a 13 play drive, 13 play 71-yard drive, but that's where the ball sailed over Geno Smith's head on 3rd down, and they only got a field goal out of it. So that was far and away their best drive of the game. Like I said, they had a short field. In fact, they started after the Josh interception. Actually, I was wrong. It was even closer to the end zone. They started at the 7-yard line.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, they got to 3rd and goal at the 1. And then on that play, it was Rizzo and Dorian Williams made a nice play. And then on 4th down is when he tripped.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to the Bills' entire secondary today. I thought they were really, really good. Now, yes, no DK Metcalf, and that's not nothing. And I agree with you. I think not having your number 1 receiver might have threw off the offense. I still, though, they lost this game because, the Bills' offense was better than the Seattle defense, and also because of their own mistakes. Like I said, tripping over your center, snapping the ball, that doesn't matter. DK Metcalf, they had the ball at the 3-yard line, the 1-yard line, and they only got 3 points. But the secondary played really good. Rasul Douglas had a couple really nice open field tackles, almost had a pick. Christian Benford does what he does. He just doesn't give up plays, good in run support. I thought Damar Hamlin actually had a good game too. I shouldn't say actually, because then it makes it sound like it's so surprising. And y'all know with the whole Damar Hamlin shit with his dad and all that stuff last week. I call it like it is, and I will continue to. I thought Damar Hamlin had a sound game. He had a nice open field tackle. He had a nice tackle near the line of scrimmage. He did get called for pass interference when they did score that 1 touchdown. Who gives a shit? The game was over. But anyway, I thought Damar Hamlin had a good game. I thought Taylor Rapp had a very, he was fine. He didn't hurt the Bills whatsoever out there. And Teron Johnson is the best slot corner in the NFL, and nobody's going to tell me otherwise. This dude is just so good, especially against the run. He's good enough to be a linebacker as small as he is in that base nickel. The secondary, all of them, they had a really good game. Bobby Babbage had a really good game. He really mixed things up well and kind of kept Seattle's offense guessing. And again, it was a miserable day for Geno Smith.
Yeah. And hey, credit to them. They did it without Terrell Bernard.
Yes.
And they did it without him, and they looked good. And you know what? One thing, too, I've complained about the Bills for the last 4 or 5 years that they don't do well in the elements. Like, whenever there's snow or
right.
Sleet. I don't know how much rain. I'm trying to remember, like, the last time Josh Allen played in the rain. But I can't remember. But, whenever it's been, like, elements, they've had issues. But, like, hey, it rained hard today for parts of that game, and they did well in those elements. So kudos to them.
I need to backtrack because our commenter, Ralph Wilson Sr. from Up in Heaven, he said Tom Brady was the Brady he ate. I thought he was talking about Joe Brady when I said he was hated on him. So Ralph Wilson from Heaven actually does like Joe Brady. It was Tom Brady.
This is why we should do what I said and leave the comments to the end of the podcast. And then like the finisher.
I got a couple. I still have a couple.
Never listens to me. You know what? I'll say this. Go ahead. No,
I was going to say some comments, if I don't get to them when they come up, they'll be talking about stuff that we talked about 45 minutes ago.
Well, then just read it and go too late. Who cares? And we just go, oh yeah, we said that. Or just keep going. I don't know. Whatever. They did it well in the elements, and that's good because look, they're going to be playing in December and in January in the elements, and they need some work in those elements. Damn it,
it was almost like a game in the elements in Orchard Park by the second half. Because I'm telling you, the stadium was loud, and the videos that I saw just.
The Bills beat bro was all over that. They all were recording videos, and
there were a lot of fans there recording videos too. Man, it was just it was an impressive turnout. It was an impressive victory.
I saw someone. I think Vancouver has a Bills backers thing because Vancouver's not too far from Seattle, and they shipped a lot of them in, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, they travel a lot, Bills fans. And there's expats everywhere, too. That's the other thing, too. Expats move everywhere. So
sure. Maz Vids said, Josh Allen and company look phenomenal today. All aspects, offense, defense, special teams, coaching. This team is coming together nicely, for sure. And again, they're putting a lot of distance. I'm not stunned that the Bills won. I'm stunned that it was as stress-free as it was.
Sure.
But I am floored that the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins each have 2 wins. Hell, New England's got 2 wins now. New England is no worse right now than New York or Miami. So we may as well start talking and throwing New England into that mix as well. I mean, you can't imagine a better scenario when you're at the halfway point of the season where the Bills are literally going to have to fall on their face so hard to not win this division. Look, in terms of the ugly, the bad, the ugly, the only real thing that I could come up with for this game, they were constantly overcoming themselves, the Bills I'm talking about here. And fortunately on this day, it didn't matter. But these penalties are killing them. 13 penalties that were accepted for 85 yards. Seattle had 11 for 82. This was the most penalizing game in the NFL all season long of any game in the league. There were more penalties in this game. A couple of weeks ago in that Jets game, it was more of the same. So this is like 2 of the last 3 weeks now where penalties are just becoming, it's an issue for the team. And I think everyone on the offensive line might have had a penalty at some point in this football game. But yeah, man, you're playing with fire. You can't constantly just overcome when it's 1st and 15 or 1st and 20 or, it's 3rd and 9 instead of 3rd and 3 because of a false start and things like that. It's just, I don't know what it is, man. I don't think it's coaching, it's a preparation. I don't know what it is, but the Bills seem to be their own worst enemy right now. Like the Ravens kicked the Bills' ass on Monday Night Football. That was just an ass whooping, okay? Outside of that game, the Bills' worst enemy this season has been the Buffalo Bills. Do you agree with that?
The worst enemy? I don't know.
They've been their worst enemy, I think, this year.
No, I mean, I thought the Texans whipped their asses too. Like, so when they did, dude, they had the crowd had 370 yards. It's not because of
Josh played terrible. That was the game where you realize you got to cheat. You got to get in a receiver. I think that's the game that said Brandon Beane left that game and said, we need to get another receiver because I cannot be counting on freaking Matt Collins and MBS right now to be primary guys.
Yeah, but yeah, look, they had penalties. I don't know. The refs, I'm so sick and tired of NFL penalties. I'm just overseeing the freaking refs. I'm a soccer fan, and I'm just gonna go on my soapbox here. And the beauty about soccer is it's fast. There is no interruptions. It's done in like 2 hours. And these refs it makes it into a 4-hour spectacle where you're like, can you hurry up? Okay, like enough with the flags. But yeah, I'm sure they'll get the flags situation situated at some point, hopefully. But I don't know.
Sure.
Whatever.
All right, Ralph wants to see your comments again. He goes, Junior on the Bills in heaven. I'm alive and, and still chatting. So yeah, the penalties were annoying. If I want to be nitpicky, and we'll watch the game, well, at least I'll watch the game back tomorrow. I'll go through the film and stuff. I thought Baylor Spector was okay. What's the standard? Don't put him at the standard that you're going to put Terrell Bernard at, because there's very few linebackers that make plays like he does. I thought Spector was okay. Not great. I don't think he was terrible. I don't think he hurt the team. If they scored 10 points for the game, nobody hurt the team much. He was okay. He filled in admirably. Dorian Williams, if I want to be really nitpicky, and I'm like, you better find something to bitch about here from this team. You better find me something. I think I would go to Dorian Williams. Missed tackles. There were a couple times where there was one drive. He looked like he was in a complete blender for that one drive. I think it was the drive where Seattle went all the way down the field and had to settle for the field goal. That drive, there were like 2 or 3 plays in a row where he was completely caught out of position, didn't really know where he was on the field. Again, I know he missed at least one tackle badly, like a weak arm tackle. I don't remember who it was on, but not a great game from him. And all week long, people have been like, well, I think he's going to, even if Matt Milano comes back at this point, I think you keep Dorian Williams in. I'm like, yeah, go watch the game. Go a lot, more than one person. Like,
go God, get off Twitter. God.
Watch the film this week, and then I'm pretty confident you're not going to tell me that Dorian Williams is going to be starting ahead of Matt Milano.
Yeah, you're not. I don't know. I don't got nothing to say negatively. See, I'm going to be nice tonight because I like, hey, he's not gonna be like, he's not gonna be a guy who's gonna like stand out, in terms of every week. He's either gonna be, you didn't notice him or you notice him.
He's had some good weeks. He's had some good games.
Okay, but whatever. Like they still won, but they kicked ass today. I can't complain about them.
Exactly. I want to get to 2 more things here and we'll get out. I want to end. I do have a couple comments that I've saved to the end, kind of taking what you said into account here a little bit. I got a new goal for the Buffalo Bills now. It's changed. I said after they lost before the Jets game, I said, I don't care about the conference anymore. I don't care about anything except this division. My goal is win the division, because winning the division gets you into the playoffs and it gets you a home game, no matter what. I think my goals is shifted now. Now my goal is the 2 seed. I'm up to getting to the 2 seed. Look, it's important because if you're going, let's just assume Kansas City is going to be, they're undefeated right now. They're probably going to be 10-0 when they come to Orchard Park. I mean, if you beat them, you got them, you're only 1 game back, and you've beaten them if you tie them. So I get that. First place is certainly not out of play here for the Bills. If they beat Kansas City, then we'll start to talk about the 1 seed. Right now, to me, it's the 2. And that matters because you're probably facing Baltimore or Houston in the second round. Because one of those, if Kansas City's the 1 and you could get the 2, either Baltimore or Houston, one of those 2 teams are going to be the 3 for sure, obviously, right? Playing them in Orchard Park, I think, would be huge. Like, again, the Ravens look unbeatable at times, but they just lost to the Cleveland Browns with Jameis Winston today. They lost at home to Vegas this season. They're not a juggernaut. They're not unbeatable. Stephon Diggs went down and got hurt, and I sure hope it's nothing too serious, but a non-contact injury is usually not good. They're down some weapons. And the Bills played like complete dog shit and still had a chance to beat them at the end of that football game without Khalil Shakir, without Bernard, or actually Bernard played that game, but no Shakir. They were a mess. Let's just put it that way. The Bills, they played like shit. It's important to play one of those 2 teams in the second round, potentially at home. So the Bills are 6-2 now. Baltimore's got 3 losses. Houston's got 2 losses. I got my eyes now. The AFC East to me is almost a wrap. I got my eyes on the 2 seed. I think that's very, very much in play.
It's not a big in play for me because I don't think of home field advantage being that important. Look, the Bills have lost in the divisional round 2 years in a row when they had the home game. They got crushed by the Bengals. They lost to the Chiefs at home.
Mhm.
It doesn't home field advantage doesn't mean as much as it used to be, and it used to mean to me. Now, the Bills are a different team because I felt like for whatever reason their passing game just couldn't work in like cold air in Buffalo, whatever the hell. It
Mhm.
got really bad. Maybe it's different now because they're more of a as of now they can balance and they can run. Maybe it will feel different this time around if they're home. But it just doesn't the reason why you want the 1 seed or the 2 seed is so you can avoid playing better team or you can avoid the better teams. It's so you can play shittier
Sure.
teams. And right now it looks to me like you have those 4, with the Bills included, like, hey, either Houston's coming here or Baltimore's coming here. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, oh man, like that's great. Like, I'm just like, okay, like can we play Pittsburgh again? And can we get like Jacksonville in the divisional round? Like, do you know what I mean? Like an easier team than those in that divisional round. And that's kind of where I'm at, where it doesn't like, look, it's great. Like, hey, get the number 1 seed, get the bye. That would be great. But, obviously, as you said, I mean, maybe they beat Kansas City, they're 1 game behind them if they keep doing their thing.
Sure.
But yeah, you could definitely, as of right now, look, they're in that conversation. They're there right now. Houston definitely, they got some injury issues right now, Houston. And it could be something for the Bills to take over that spot. I still don't like, the Chiefs. I know the Chiefs have not looked good this year in terms of
Doesn't
their,
matter. They're
yeah,
undefeated. Doesn't
yeah.
matter.
But let me just say this: like, you're right, they're undefeated. They haven't looked great, but I still think they're a team that's just waiting for the playoffs, and then they're going to get pissed off. Like I've said it, like the classic basketball team that's like, yeah, whatever. We'll get like a second, third seed, and then we'll turn it on when we get to the playoffs. Like that's what they feel like to me.
Yeah.
But it would be if I don't care if they get the 1 or 2 seed. I really don't. Like just like they're going to get that home playoff game, which it seems like that's happening. So great. And then we'll see what happens. Because really depends what the offense is. Because look, if I want the Bills to throw the football all over the place, like playing in Houston is probably better than playing in Buffalo.
That's the only city that you could say, though, that where the weather probably won't be a factor.
Sure.
Baltimore is going to be shitty. Kansas City will be shitty. Pittsburgh will probably be shitty.
Yeah, but I'm saying I'm saying that for the divisional. Like it's either you might play that team or not.
Sure.
But
Sure.
we'll see. I mean, we'll see. It's still a long way away, but yeah, look, you could definitely start daydreaming about that second.
Well, they're 6-2 after 8 games. That's why I keep coming back to it. Hasn't always been pretty. The offense, the first half of most of the season, the first half of the games have been pretty shitty. But at the end of the day, you looked at that schedule, that rough 3-game road stretch, Jacksonville at home, which was going to be a tough game, at Miami in week 2. This was going to be a tough game. And the Bills are 6-2. And I don't know a lot of people who predicted the Bills are going to be 6-2 after 8 games. I do know one. I talked about, shout out Josh Reed, Channel 4. He did call this before the season. He said the Bills would be 6-2. That was his hot take in a preseason show or a preview. So shout out to him. But I don't know a lot of people who thought that. I do think it's important to be at home in Orchard Park for the playoffs. I want Lamar Jackson playing in Orchard Park as opposed to Baltimore. The crowd, lots of factors. Ditto for CJ Stroud if it ends up being Houston. And by the way, I'm just completely dismissing, and I shouldn't, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Right now, they're in first place. The Baltimore Ravens aren't even in first place in their own division, let alone the number 2 seed.
Crazy.
Yeah, because Pittsburgh's only got 2 losses, and they're a good.
I'll say
team.
this: look, as it stands right now, if you want me to be kind of like, well, what about this? As it stands right now, the Bills have not beaten a winning team this season. They haven't. Like Seattle's not 4-4. The Cardinals are 4-4. Miami's 2-6. The Jags are terrible. The Jets are terrible. The 2 teams that they play that have winning records currently, they lost to. One very handily. One, I don't think the score against the Texans game was nearly as close as it should have been. And this is me just being like, hey, if you want me to, you were negative about the freaking penalties, like, because you had to be. If you want me to look at something and go, well,
it's fair. Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, they haven't, and they're not going to until they play the Chiefs. And that's like the next test. Like, look, I said, like, hey, beat Seattle. I'll put you in the conversation because I gave them probably a little bit Seattle too much credit. Maybe, they lost to the Giants. I was being lazy, I think, when I gave him too much credit. But going out there was a little bit. I thought it was going to be a bigger test, and they kicked their asses. And maybe I should give them credit.
It was a test. I don't. It wasn't.
It was, but I'm saying
it wasn't a monumental test, but it was a test. Yeah, it just looks that way because they beat the shit out of them so bad. Seattle's they're a middling team. They're just like a team they're average to above average.
Yeah, but what I mean is I should not have put all my they did better do this and then I'll put them in but I did and now I have to. I have no choice. I have to put them in I said it last week. I'm a man of my word. So yeah, I put them in that top 4 and then you have to. They're 6-2. But
sure.
Again, if you're looking at something in a way of like negative or if you want to go not so fast, they haven't played they haven't beaten a winning team yet. And their schedule, look, it goes great. And then like they have, the toughest teams they have are like the Lions. That's going to be a freaking giant test for them. And the Chiefs, and that's really it, right? Am I missing
Detroit.
like some?
Oh, you said Detroit. I said Detroit. Yeah. Frisco's still a good football team.
They're still good, but they got so many injuries. Like they're not what they were last year. As of right now.
What's fun to think about? Again, I was thinking about this in terms of winning the division at one point. I'm like, well, if it's really tight with the Bills and Miami or the Jets at the end, the Bills played New England 2 times in the last 3 weeks. That benefits the Bills.
Sure.
Now you're talking a potential if they could beat Kansas City, and they're right there in the mix. Those last 3 games to play New England twice and the Jets. And look, they're playing the Jets in Orchard Park. Aaron Rodgers, if he's not physically out of the lineup, he's going to be emotionally checked out at that point because that team's going to be buried and he's a lousy human being and he won't give a shit at that point. So he's not going to care. Yeah, he's a piece of shit. Now, again, the whole DeMar Hamlin thing, again, that was never meant to be personal. I just don't think.
Enough about DeMar, man. You know what? I'm going to close this up.
Because there's a difference. Because Aaron Rodgers, it's a different person, dude. Whatever.
I know. Anyway, everyone knows that. Everyone knows. Look, everyone knows that you like DeMar as a human. We all.
Not everyone knows that. I've got a lot of bullshit from people who say that. Whatever. Let's drop that. I want to get to a couple comments here, and I want to end the show. Let me get to a few of these that I had saved. Tommy Seifert says, "People talking about Cooper Kupp. We don't need him." I don't think Cooper Kupp's going anywhere because the NFC West is whack. The Rams are right in the mix to win.
I would have took Cooper Kupp, but
now,
not now. But you know what? No, I wouldn't have because you know what? If it won't work because like Amari's a free agent, and who knows if they're going to re-sign him? So I'm like,
Cooper Kupp will be too.
Oh, will it too? Okay, yeah. No, we're good.
No, if Brandon Beane's going to make a move, go show up, go get some defensive line depth or go get some offensive line depth in case
I would say maybe linebacker. I think they need linebacker depth. I think.
Sure, I still think they need a safety too. Like, don't get it too twisted. I'm not sold on safety play whatsoever. If Micah Hyde's not coming back, they got no confidence in Mike Edwards, Cole Bishop's a rookie. Don't give me a safety.
Yeah, I think you're putting too much emphasis on safety. They have good corners back there that can help the safeties out. I think you're putting a little bit too much. Linebackers, you don't. You're on a kind of your own little island as linebackers. And I know you have nightmares of AJ Klein in the playoffs last year, so I would like them to have a little bit more depth in line.
Sure, but you get Milano back. Dorian Williams is depth in the playoffs, so
sure. But we don't know if he's coming back. Milano,
he's coming back, man.
Okay, yeah, he was coming back this year. Okay, sure.
Nicholas Dossett says big shout out to Spector for his defensive management today. Very impressive. Again, not an easy job to come in and start at middle linebacker. You're not going to make anyone forget about Terrell Bernard, but I thought Balin Spector was perfectly fine today. Your best friend here, Michael Bartham, our boy from Trainwreck, says Seattle's favorite target on offense was their own foot. Yeah, that was true. They hurt themselves a lot. He also said massive shout out as well for Austin having his first interception in his entire football life. I don't know if you were listening to the broadcast.
Brady talked about it. Yeah,
that was his first interception ever. Like even going back to Little Loop, he said he never had an interception in his life.
You've been hard on that guy too. He hasn't really done much this year, right? Like he's kind of been there.
He's all right. He's been okay, and he's starting to step up now. This is the time of year. Dwayne Carter being down, Austin Johnson has to step up, and he did on Sunday. Allentown said Bernard will be back next week. So real quick here, I've been wondering about this. He didn't play this week. Obviously, he didn't practice this week either. I was wondering, and I hope this is the case, that maybe they slow played it a little bit this week with him. They're like, No, let's not take any chances this week. Let's not rush him back. Let's give him a full week more to heal, and let's get him back for the Miami game, because all 17 games, as much as people like to think they are, they're not created equal. And the Miami game next week was always going to be more important than the Seattle game this week. You're playing a divisional opponent. Now, in this case, you can pretty much knock Miami literally and utterly out of the AFC East race with a victory. So
Sure.
my hope is that they're taking it a little cautious this week with Bernard, and that he will
You could
he'll
also
be
say
back
like
from
they could
Miami.
rest him next week because they beat them already without Bernard.
Sure. Yeah, you're not
So,
gonna
like,
you're not forced to play him if he's less. But I think you're more likely to get him back quicker if
Sure.
it's Miami. We'll find out on Wednesday. Like if he's a limited practice person, then I think he's back on track to play. A few more here. Walker, talking about Kenneth Walker, smoked Wilson in the flat. Yeah, Dorian Williams had a couple breakdowns for sure. Maz says KC shit weather and outdoors too. Same with the Ravens. Either way, we're playing in the elements. May as well be at home. Yeah, I mean, sure. But like you said, if you're talking about a track meet, Houston would be a good place to go on the road if you got to go on the road. The Aaron Rodgers arc is insane.
He's
That's what I'm
such an
chaotic.
idiot. Yeah, he's such a
That team, what a disaster. That's how
Dude.
we'll end this. Let's talk about the Jets for 3 minutes, then we'll get out of here. Dude, what an utter this is what happens when you have shitty ownership and you have a quarterback who's basically the de facto general manager. I mean, he brought his guys in. He got Robert Saleh fired. Straight up got him fired. They brought in Nate Hackett because of Aaron Rodgers. And it's just, the offensive line is complete trash. The defense somehow has become overrated from being one of the best defenses in the league to borderline overrated. Aaron Rodgers can't move. He still looks good. Like, he's a box score guy. You look at his box score and you're like, yeah, pretty good game. But he's making bad mistakes, no mobility. And just, I don't know, man. I just also think his aura, if this makes any sense, I think that whiny aura that he has kind of rubs off on his team as well, man. I'm stunned. That's how we got it. Dude, I'm stunned. I'm stunned Miami's 2-5, and I'm stunned that the Jets are 2-6, and I'm stunned that the Bills are 6-2. It's just,
I mean,
it's
I'm
crazy to me.
What's more shocking to you, that they're 6-2 or the Jets are 2-6?
That the Jets are 2-6.
Yeah, that's more so.
By far. The Bills, look, the Bills are a good enough team right now that you can realistically expect them to go out and win every game. There's nobody that the Bills are going to line up against this season where I'm like, they're going to have to get very lucky to win. I think if the Bills play their best football,
Detroit's good. Detroit's kind of worries me a little bit.
Detroit worries me more than Kansas City.
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, respect to Kansas City, but the Bills beat them every year to the
How
regular
does
season.
Hopkins going to Kansas City move the needle for you?
Not much, but
I mean, he did okay last year with not great quarterback play in Tennessee.
Sure. I mean, look, he's not going to be what he was, but he's not going to even be Rashee Rice or maybe not even Hollywood Brown, what he was supposed to be. But he's going to be better than Watson, or he's going to be better than Sky Moore. I think Sky Moore might have got hurt, or Watson got hurt. One of those guys already got hurt since Hopkins got traded for. He's going to be okay. He's going to help them. But what did he play on? I don't even know. Did he play?
I don't know.
Did he play on Sunday? Now I got to look it up. You got to be intrigued here. If he did, he didn't do anything, because I didn't see his name on Twitter one single time the entire game. Let's look at the box score. So Pat Mahomes went 27-38 for 262, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Hopkins had 2 catches for 29 yards, 3 targets, including a 16-yarder. Yeah, so Watson's still in the lineup. I think it was Sky Moore. Sky Moore went on IR. So DeAndre Hopkins is an upgrade to what they had, but he's not like, I would rather have Amari Cooper than DeAndre Hopkins. Let's just put it that way for sure. I can't believe Tua comes back and Miami loses at home against Arizona. Not that Arizona's a scrub team, but still, if you're serious, this was going to be the week the offense would explode, the defense would come. That defense is just fresh. And Jordan Poyer just don't have it, dude. I watched a lot of that game. Yeah. He's just.
I'll just say this, with Mike McDaniel. Look, I drank the Kool-Aid last year when they bombed. Like, I was envious of them. Like, why can't the Bills have Waddle or Hill? And they score 70 against Denver, and I'm like, and shit. I mean, That was definitely wrong on my end as of right now. I mean, maybe they figure out something in the end, like in terms of like they pull it together where they can make a run for a wild card team because Tua has been hurt or whatever. But
No, they can't lose. Like they have to beat Buffalo. I mean, forget the division. I think the division is over. But I'm talking about playoffs. You're 2-5. You cannot be 2-6 like the Jets are. I'm talking about getting into the playoffs. If you're Miami, you got to go into Buffalo. It's a divisional game. It's a conference game. It's going to matter for the wild card. You have to win this game.
what about?
If
Can I
you're
ask you?
Miami.
Let me
Go ahead.
two teams I wanted to ask you about, and then we can get the hell out of here.
Well, I had a
Broncos.
final point too, but go ahead. Go ahead. That's your
Then you
question.
can get
No, go
out.
ahead.
Sorry. Broncos Chargers. How do you feel about them? Because I feel like they're like, because look, the Broncos are 5-3.
Mhm.
Bo Nix kicked ass today. Like he did really well today.
Yep.
And the Chargers, I'll say this: the Chargers, in a way, kind of worry me a little bit because they know how to run the football, and I feel like a team that knows how to run the football. And look, the Bills beat Seattle can run the football, and the Bills crushed them today. So like, but like, LA kind of, I don't know. I kind of look at LA a little bit. I'm like, like it's a different. They're kind of like a poor man's Ravens a little bit with like running the football well, playing decent defense. They got a decent quarterback. I like Harbaugh. I think he's he's a good coach and he turns shit around. But how do you feel about those teams? Because those are kind of like I felt more of unknown teams that no one really took seriously.
They feel like Pittsburgh to me last year. Like Pittsburgh was a good team, but like I don't think they're good enough to beat Buffalo. Well, if Buffalo helps them beat them, then they're good enough to beat them. I would throw Pittsburgh into that mix too. Look, if the Bills win the division, it's very likely that in the first round of the playoffs, they're going to play a team like a Denver Broncos or Chargers in the wild card round, or maybe Pittsburgh if they falter a little bit. I mean, I respect them. Baltimore is playing Denver next week, and Denver just won, and they're 5-3, but they're like 9.5 point underdogs in Baltimore next week. I was like, in fact, I tweeted at Benjamin Albright, who covers the Broncos, like, wow, that line is pretty wild, man. 9.5 points for a 5-3 team that plays really good defense is Denver does play good defense. So do Chargers. I respect them. I don't think they belong.
I'll just say this about the Chargers. It just is the Bills almost lost to them last year when the Chargers had like no one on the field. They didn't have the starting quarterback. They just fired their coach. Yeah. I don't know how much. Like, I'm not going to pretend I'm going to sit here and watch every Chargers game, and I'm not sure how big of a difference is. But they're respectable, and like I said, they run the football, and those hardball teams know how to run. Like, and that's it. So
yeah. Let me end with this point, and then I want to find out what you think about this. But 6-2 surprises me. The fact that Miami and the Jets are pretty much out of it, that stuns me. But beyond the record, what's been most amazing to me about 2024 so far is that moves that were, I don't want to say they were criticized, but they were moves that seemed to indicate that the Bills were transitioning this year. The guys they got rid of, Jordan Poyer, Trey White, Gabe Davis, Mitch Morse, Leonard Floyd. They traded Stephon Diggs. All these guys pointed to the Bills being in transition, these core, veteran, good players. Micah Hyde, not officially retiring, but looks like he's done. And then you look 8 weeks into the season, all right? Trey White has been a healthy scratch for the Rams. He's playing terribly. He just doesn't have it anymore. They're talking about trading him or maybe even cutting him. I'm telling you, I watch a lot of Miami, and I love me Jordan Poyer. Love the dude. He's washed. He just doesn't have it. He does not have the speed anymore. He looks old out there, and it hurts me to say it because I love him. But anyway, my point is he's cooked, okay? Gabe Davis could not be a bigger no factor for the money he got with Jacksonville, and he's not moved the needle 1 inch for them whatsoever. Mitch Morse has been okay. I think Connor McGovern's played better this year at center than what they were getting from Mitch Morse. Okay, so those guys are gone. Stephon Hurts, he's a good football player, but your offense is coming along just fine. And now you got Amari Cooper. Am I missing anyone else? I think that's all. And Micah Hyde. Micah Hyde's gone. Micah Hyde was a shell of himself for most of last year. DeMar Hamlin has been serviceable. He's been adequate compared to his peers. He's average-ish. Okay, that's fine. The point is, all this core leadership, all these good players that they lost, it's meant nothing nothing at all to this season, detrimentally anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say that it has. And I think you have to credit Brandon Bean and McDermott for like getting guys in there. Like
Yeah.
the younger guys are playing well. Look, I don't expect much from rookies unless you're like a first round pick and you're like a top 20 pick. And like Keon Coleman's been doing well. Like he's taken the burden off that they lost with Gabe Davis a little bit. You know, Amari Cooper will just say, like, let's just say he's a replacement of Diggs. We'll just say like close to that, you know, and I still think Diggs is a better receiver than Amari, but it's still early. That story hasn't been written yet. But Tyler Rapp has been good, you know, for them. He was outstanding last week.
He won the Jets game.
The Jets game, that's where he was outstanding in. Yeah. The offensive line has not lost a beat, you know, and give credit to, you know, Connor McGovern moving the center. I questioned that a little bit because like, why is this guy moving the center? And then you know, and David, what's the guard's name? My apologies. The one
David Edwards.
David Edwards took a shirt off at the Sabres game. I think it was.
No, that was Alec Anderson.
Oh, okay, never mind. All right, well,
that's the sixth guy who always reports eligible, who got a stupid penalty today. But
yeah, Edwards has been okay. Like the line has been good. Like the replacements, that's to me the key. I never thought here, like outside of Diggs and Morris were the only guys that I was like, ugh, I would not have gotten rid of them. Everyone else, I understood it. I got it. Understood it. You know, but I was questioning what their replacement guys would do and what they've done. And like the rookie class so far has done very well for them. The younger guys, you know, other guys who were there even last year, like Shakir has been really good and he's helped out with the wide receivers, you know, in terms of like being that guy, like, you know, you hyped him up and he's met that hype. Good for him, obviously. And, you know, Greg Rousseau, I think he's playing better than he did last year. He's been great. He's like, he's in the top 5 for quarterback pressures. He's been awesome. You know, give him credit. Al Oliver's still there. I mean, he's comes in and out. I don't know. Like he's fine. Like
he's been good. He's been good.
But like he hasn't been like, he's not like Rousseau, who I think Rousseau has been better. Right. Like he's, you know what I mean? He's been fine. Good, Al Oliver. But I'm saying those guys, those core guys who were here last year and even the year before have gotten better. Like Rousseau has gotten better. Rapp, who was here last year and he didn't really do much, he's gotten better. Christian Benford, I think, has been better this year. Like no one throws to him. Like, you know, you read off the Pro Football Reference.
He's having an all-pro. He's having an all-pro.
No one throws it to him. No one throws it at his side of the ball, but he's been better. And you know, that's the thing about the secondary. Like, you know, we can talk about guys individually if they're good or bad, but like if you got guys out there who are really good, they're going to help the guys who are bad be better. You know what I mean? Like it's still a team game out there. You know, if you have a covered corner, if you have a corner who you don't throw to, that's going to help out the other cornerbacks. It's going to help out the safeties because they can concentrate on that sort of stuff. That's where, you know, to me, defensive backs and like offensive line, that's when if you have like 1 or 2 anchors there, it can help everyone else out. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Hey, the transition has changed. You know, I was skeptical. I picked them to go 9-8, and I'm 3 wins away from that fucking prediction being thrown out the window pretty handily. I think it is. And
you got to move the goalposts. The goalposts should be, if it hasn't been moved already, if you're Brandon Bean and the goalpost hasn't been moved already, and I think it already was moved, and that's why they got Amari Cooper. But even more so now, the expectation was to be in the mix, hopefully win the division, get to the playoffs in a transitional year. You got draft capital, cap room, all that stuff coming next year. You lose all these core veteran leadership guys. Now the expectation absolutely should be getting in the Super Bowl. That needs to be the expectation now. There's no reason not to. Again, are you better than Kansas City, Baltimore, Houston? Maybe not. But are you on that same tier where you absolutely can beat them? You better treat yourself like you are. Simple as that.
Yeah. Hey, if they want to go for it, you know, you want some safety help. I'm for.
Sure.
I think linebacker. Look, I'm not relying on Matt Milano yet. Okay. I don't know when he's coming back. I don't know if he's going to be 100%. The guy hasn't stayed healthy. Like, yeah, it'll be great if he plays 4 freaking games at the end of the year and they go into the Super Bowl or whatever. But
right.
Yeah, those are things like depth. Like, you know, I wouldn't be against.
Yeah, so. I hear you. All right. Well, we're going to do it. By the way, one last thing. Michael Partham pointed out, I forgot to say Leonard Floyd. Yeah, Leonard Floyd's got 3 sacks with Frisco. Dwan Smoot has been every bit as good as him, which, by the way, one last point. This is a Buffalo Bills team that hopefully gets back to Terrell Bernard next week. But regardless, one person they will be getting back this week is Von Miller. Von Miller who had 3 sacks over the first 4 games of the season and was a really good situational pass rusher. His 4-game suspension ended after this game. So Von Miller will be back as well for the Bills. Anyway, gonna do it for this show. Got over 600 here live for a Sunday night. Pretty impressive. Late on a Sunday night. Big thank you to everyone out there. Big thank you to Joe from Queens. A good win, man. A good win. You're 6-2. It's going to be a fun week. We get into Miami week. Maybe I'll get you out later in the week. We'll have a little.
What? I don't want to come on again. What are we going to talk about? I don't want to talk about it. I'm done. I'm one and done, man. I'm done.
Right,
I'm out.
Well, Joe's one and done. I'm not. So I will be back. Brand new episode. Biggest takeaways after watching the film and all that other fun stuff tomorrow.